Namaste Saraswatam Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskadyade Siddharane. So welcome everyone. Let's see. Today I'm going to read from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 13, text number 22. Chapter 13 is entitled Nature, Enjoyer, and Consciousness. Purusha prakritisto hi bhunte prakti angunan karna guna sangosya sarasat yoni janmisu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The living entity in material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature. This is due to his association with that material nature, thus he meets with good and evil among various species. Purport. This verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that the living entity is transmigrating from one body to another, just as one changes dress. This change of dress is due to his attachment to material existence. As long as he is captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating one body to another. Due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. Under the influence of material desire, the living entity is born sometimes as a demigod, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a beast, as a demigod, sometimes as a man, as a bird, as a worm, as an aquatic, as a saintly man, as a bug. This is going on. In all cases, the living entity thinks himself to be the master of his circumstances. It is under the influence of material nature. How he is put into different bodies is explained here. It is due to association with the different modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three material modes and become situated in the transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. And thus, one is situated in Krishna consciousness. His material consciousness will oblige him to transfer to one body, from one body to another, because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be effected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long-cherished desire to dominate material nature. And gradually and proportionally, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In a Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionally relishes his eternal blissful life. The verse again. Purusha prakriti sohi bhunte prakriti jangunan karna guna sangosa sat asat yoni janmisu. Om agyanatimirandasya gyananjana salakaya chaksu unmilitam yena tasmai shri gurve namaha. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions earlier that generally speaking, the three modes have manifested themselves in our lives in three distinct categories, known as Bhoktaram Yagatapasam, Sarva Lokamaheshwaram, Suridam Sarvabhutanam, Kyatvamam Shantim Richati. The first is in the mode of ignorance, we generally consider ourselves to be the doer, which means more or less we can control things in the material world independently. We obviously have some control, but that control depends upon our desire. And our desire is not fulfilled independently, as Krishna says, prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vibhudatma kartaham iti manyate. That the bewildered soul, under the influence of the three modes, thinks himself to be the doer of activities, which are actually, in actuality, carried out by the three modes. So we have the sense of doing things, we have the sense of moving our body and doing things, but actually the soul is simply desiring, and according to what he deserves, Krishna makes the arrangement through his material or the spiritual nature to fulfill his desires. So it's not that we're not doing anything. It's not that we're not doing anything, but we're imagining ourselves to be doing something that we're really not, and we're unaware sometimes of what we're actually doing, or how we're affecting our existence, both in the material world and in the spiritual platform of consciousness. It all depends upon desires, and desires depend upon our past desires along with our present association. Whatever our past desires may have been in trying to control our situation, that can be changed if we understand what to do to surrender to Krishna specifically. That may be under the modes of nature. For instance, person in the mode of ignorance, by good association, even in the material existence, can come to the mode of passion. He may give up his bad habits and do something positive. He may have been drinking and alcohol and other such activities, but by better association, he comes to want to make a success out of his life, make money, support his family, and get ahead in material existence. Now, such a change of desire certainly is better than simply becoming addicted to sinful activity, but it doesn't prevent the soul from having to take another birth, again in the material world, perhaps in a higher form of life, or perhaps if he's acting in the mode of passion, then he may take birth again in the same in a so-called civilized society. Or if one is interested in progressing in materialistic life, making success out of life, and one gets better association, one may come to become inquisitive, how to understand one's spiritual nature and how to come to a higher platform of consciousness. And one who has such a desire and cultivates it may even come to the platform of realizing that we're not this body, that we're actually spiritual beings, and may have a goal of life to end material existence. But the best association, of course, is one who reveals to us our actual nature and how we can utilize our present existence to transform our existence into something spiritual. So in the mode of ignorance, we're absorbed in being the doer, the controller. And generally speaking, if things don't go the way we want them to go, then we become frustrated very easily and become angry. So we think anger will destroy our enemy, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that he is my enemy and I've killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am perfect. I am powerful. And I am happy. So he gets some kind of satisfaction by thinking, my enemies are all being killed, not aware of the fact that in the case of Chitraketu Maharaj, he had no sons, although he had not 10 million wives. And he was quite disturbed because, although he was a pious devotee of Krishna, still he felt responsible that his kingdom needed a successor after he had left. When Angira Muni and Narada Muni visited him in his palace, he offered them a very nice reception. But both of them, being supremely conscious, Angira Muni and Narada Muni, noticed that the king was not very happy. And they inquired from the king what was the source of his dissatisfaction. After all, most people would be very happy to have a kingdom which is practically unlimited, full of wealth and resources, and what to speak of 10 million wives. Obviously, he was quite wealthy. Nowadays, to maintain one wife requires a lot of effort. Can you imagine how much resources he must have had to maintain 10 million wives? It's about 5 times bigger than the country I'm in right now. And yet he was disturbed. So they inquired from him, and he said, although I have 10 million wives, I don't even have one son. So they said, no problem. We can perform a sacrifice and give you the benediction of a son. But the son will be the cause of your jubilation and also the cause of your unhappiness. So the king said, yes, very nice, no problem. Probably my son, when he's born, will be greatly jubilant, but he'll be naughty, disobedient, and therefore he'll cause us some distress. But that's all right. At least, as they say in English, a blind uncle is better than no uncle. So they accepted the benediction, and one of his wives received the offering, which she became pregnant. They had a son, they named him Harsha Shoka. Harsha means jubilant, and Shoka means lamentation. As things went on, everyone in the kingdom was happy because now the kingdom had a successor and everyone was jubilant. Unfortunately, the king started to pay all complete attention to the child and the child's mother, and therefore, although everyone was happy, there were his other 9,999,999 wives were very unhappy. Now the king pays no attention to us, only to this child and to his mother, and therefore they decided the best way of solving their problem was to poison the little child, which they did successfully. And when it was discovered that the child had died, everyone in the kingdom, except for the 9,999,999 queens, were unhappy. They were all very happy. Now we have the attention of the king again. Now, the despondency of the king and the queen are beyond our imagination. And therefore, Angira Muni and Narada Muni came back and inquired from the king what had happened. And he revealed that his son had died. So Angira Muni brought back the son to life, and said, "My dear son, why did you leave? Your father and mother are very unhappy that you've left them." So the son said, "Which father and mother? I've had so many fathers and mothers. Which one are you talking about?" Chitraketu and his wife. "Oh, that one. Oh, yeah. I know what happened. In the last lifetime, I was a king and he was a king and we fought each other. Unfortunately, I lost and I'd vowed I'd come back and get revenge and make him very unhappy. So therefore, Krishna gave me the opportunity to take birth as his son and I could die and make him very unhappy. So I'm very happy that he was unhappy, but I think it's time for me to go." So we may believe that we're the controllers of the material world and that we have a plan for happiness, and that in that plan for happiness we can actually make some progress. Unbeknownst to us that actually this happiness, so-called happiness, ultimately will be the cause of our distress. We may want to control the material world ultimately in order to enjoy it. So these two things, I am the controller and I am the enjoyer, are the two prominent consciousness that the soul has in the material world. I'm going to control the material energy so I can enjoy it. But ultimately, the material nature is just a manifestation of different gross and subtle energies, which the soul cannot really control. For instance, can we pinpoint one hair on our body and we tell it, "Don't grow old. Don't grow. I don't want you to grow. I'm tired of shaving every day. I don't really want to cut my hair. So please, I command you, don't grow one hair on our body." Well, even one hair on our, if we have problems that people don't listen to us, we have children, but they don't listen to us sometimes. But don't be concerned because we can't even control one hair on our body. What to speak of our children? On the other end, if we tell our body, "Don't grow old, I'm tired of growing older, please grow younger." So we may try so many different things, but ultimately everyone grows old and eventually has to leave the body. No matter how nicely we try to take care of the body or how sincere we are to grow younger, it doesn't work. We may try to stand on the tip of our toes for 120 years like Hiranyakashipu, so that Brahma comes to personally give us a benediction, but don't expect that he can give us a benediction that we'll never die. He couldn't do that for Hiranyakashipu, and he won't be able to do it for us either. Even if we spend 121 years standing on the tip of our toes, it won't work. Now, as far as enjoying, according to this verse, all we're enjoying is mostly the idea that we're enjoying. There may be something called enjoyment, but that enjoyment is temporary, and therefore it's not completely satisfying. And whatever enjoyment we have will simply stimulate a desire for more enjoyment. If we actually think we're enjoying, then we'll want to have more enjoyment. That's called greed. Therefore, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, "Yehi samsparsha bhoga dukkha yone evate adyantavanta konteya na teshu ramate buddha." An intelligent person doesn't take joy in the causes of material happiness, which is due to contact with the senses, with their objects. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise person doesn't delight in them. So there is material happiness, but it's temporary and doesn't satisfy us, but leads to more desires for more such happiness. Just take a typical ice cream cone that we're eating. Every lick we're enjoying, and with every lick we're in anxiety, it's disappearing. So we may love the ice cream, but we become very disturbed the fact that the more I enjoy it, the more it disappears. Similarly, we love this body, and the way it works is the more we try to enjoy it, the quicker it disappears. But that's the laws of material nature. That's how it works. And we may not be the controller, and we may not be ultimately the real enjoyer. Of course, we're enjoying, because the propensity to enjoy is normal, is natural within ourselves. Everyone has to enjoy. No one is living to suffer. No one goes to the university or to school or gets a job. My dear professor, can you please teach me how to suffer? I'm too happy. So I need some education. What will increase my suffering? Whatever we're doing, it's always with the promise that this will either make me happy or help me avoid suffering. No one does anything. Even when we go to the dentist, we'll submit to suffering if we think in the long term I'm going to be happier. The dentist doesn't say, my dear sir, you don't have any cavities, but I'm perfectly willing to take out all your teeth if you'd like. I think you'd look a lot more handsome without teeth. What do you think? Most of us would not agree with him. Sometimes if something happens to our teeth, we appreciate if they can fix it or even replace it, but not unnecessarily eliminate them. So in the material world, we accept things for our enjoyment, and we're reluctant to eliminate anything that we think will be the cause of our suffering. Now the final snare in Maya is to think that we're the savior, especially saving people by eliminating their material problems. I think most of the internet, most of the education, most of whatever is going on in the material world is a promise that someone's making to us that they have the solution to our problems. And if we follow them, then we'll be successful in life, and at least some of our problems will go away. Therefore, people are willing to submit themselves to an educational process that sometimes takes decades, with the idea that somehow or another, by following this person's advice and instructions and a number of authorities, then I'll become educated. And with that education, I'll be able to get a job. And with that job, I'll be able to make money. And with that money, I'll be able to buy food. And therefore, I'll be happy. I'll buy a house for shelter. I'll get a family for shelter. I'll get food and everything else, and I'll be happy. Which is true, but we have to go through a lot of distress in order to get that happiness. And after getting that happiness, then we get even more distress when one by one we lose everything. Because whatever we gain in the material world, sooner or later we have to lose it, including our main project, which is to make our body healthy and strong. that's not possible to maintain it forever, as Hiranyakashipu can testify. In spite of his performing some kind of tapasya, still eventually he developed an acute problem in his intestines, and he died. Now, it is not all bad news. The point is that the material world is just a reflection of our real desire. Our desire to be happy is normal. Our desire to control is normal. Our desire to be beneficial to others, including ourselves, is normal. It's just that we've invested in the wrong energies. Now, of course, it is not that we're going to stop material existence all of a sudden, but the question is where we're putting our attention and who we're giving our love to, or what we're giving our love to. We certainly have an interest in our present material existence to pay attention to and give our love to so many different objects in this material world. But at the same time, we should understand that our ultimate interest is not only our body or our mind or things in relation to it, but we ourselves and everyone else have an interest to discover who we actually are and what our actual interest is. Keeping that in mind, if we can understand that we're spirit, that we're conscious, and that we have a propensity to love, and focus our consciousness on different objects for love, because after all, the soul, if he's made out of Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, if the soul is made out of bliss or love and knowledge, consciousness, eternally, it's not that when we enter into material existence, we stop having bliss and knowledge eternally. It's just the question is where we focus our attention and give our love to results in our experience. So when we fall in love with material energy, our body, things in relation to the body, and we give our love, our feelings of appreciation, our happiness to different material objects, certainly we get an experience. But that same consciousness can also be focused in on our self, the person who has consciousness. So the Gyanis, they focus in on their self, trying to become free from the distractions of the material existence. The yogis, they focus in on the Supreme Self, trying to get some benefit from him. The Gyanis may focus on merging into Brahman, to get free from all material difficulty. The yogis may focus on Paramatma, to get free from, or to get special powers and control the material energy better. The karmis may focus on trying to acquire a better material existence, a better state in the heavenly planets, or a more opulent position on this planet. The vikarmis may focus on enjoying sinful life, eating as much as possible, sleeping as long as possible, having as much varieties of sex as possible, and trying to protect whatever we have in the best way possible. But ultimately, all these different programs for material happiness always result in the same ultimate frustrations. A hungry person can't be satisfied. If you go to a feast at a Hare Krishna temple and they give you one raisin during the feast, you probably may not come back to the feast again, even if they promise they're going to double it next week. Similarly, we're trying to go to so many feasts in this material existence, and we're only getting, according to Govindadas, one drop of water in the desert, or one raisin at a Hare Krishna feast, Sunday feast. Therefore, we're looking for something that will give us something more, at least. So, the scientific knowledge in Bhagavad Gita, beginning with understanding that we're not this body, tells us that there's a spirit who's directing everyone and can tell us how whatever we want, he's willing to give us. He's given souls, bodies of in the 8,400,000 species of life. Material nature is a big supermarket. You can walk through the forest and you can pick out your next body if you want. And Bhagavad Gita will train you how to get that. If you want to become a squirrel, you can observe the squirrels. You can pray to Krishna. Please, my dear Lord, I would like to have a fluffy tail like that squirrel. Please give me the intelligence how to become a squirrel. Then Krishna, if that's our desire, you can, just like nowadays, people want to become, they're infatuated with dogs. And as I said, in Japan, they'll sell you a dog suit for $10,000. And you put on the dog suit, then you can go to the park and you can play with the other dogs. You don't have to wait till your next lifetime. Human intelligence is so good that if you really want to become a dog, then Krishna will arrange and give you the intelligence how to act like a dog in this lifetime and prepare yourself for your dog life in the next. But that's not what's advised. That since we're eternal, it is also possible to experience eternality even in this lifetime. It's possible to get aware, more conscious of the fact that the person who knows everything, past, present, and future, and has a personal relationship with each one of us, can give us the intelligence how to experience spiritual life even in this lifetime. As a matter of fact, that's why he speaks the Bhagavad Gita. That's why he comes personally as Krishna. That's why he sends his representatives, such as Srila Prabhupada, in order to teach us how to utilize our present existence to experience spiritual life even in this lifetime. Now, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has not made it exceedingly difficult. As in the age of Satya Yuga, people generally didn't have to become convinced about spiritual life, because material life was maximum pleasant. In other words, in Satya Yuga, people weren't hankering for so many things. First of all, there weren't so many things to hanker for. But what they had was satisfying to them from the point of view of materially. The food was delicious. It was organic. It didn't take an undue, unnecessary effort to obtain it. The air was pure. You could breathe it. People generally didn't get sick. The water was pure. You didn't have to buy it at the store. People appreciated each other. Even the demons liked each other. Family life was there. Ravana, he loved his parent, his relatives. He was a demon. And yet he had a very nice relationship. Even in the animal kingdom, generally speaking, the lion is in love with the lioness and protects her, and is in love with his children and protects them. In modern society, so-called advanced society, with no fresh air in most places, no fresh food, unless you spend a lot of money to obtain it, no no happy relationships in general amongst most people that can't even maintain a family together. Someone may say, I've been married for 40 years. And then the question is, to how many people have you been married? So it says, someone says, I've been married for 40 years, and then the question is raised, it wasn't to the same person, I hope. And embarrassed, very embarrassed, you say yes. And then people think, what's wrong with you? So in Satya Yuga, everything was satisfying. The relationships especially was satisfying. Everything from the material point of view was provided without much effort, but in a way which was enjoyable, the most enjoyable possible in material existence. And at the same time, the knowledge was pure. People knew, because their minds weren't confused by so many false information, they had awareness of the fact that they were eternal, living in a temporary body. They were aware that there was a guide within their heart, Paramatma, who could guide them towards reality. They were aware that there was a person that they had an eternal relationship with, who, by reestablishing it, would give them unlimited love and bliss and happiness forever. They knew what the goal of life was, and they weren't interested in establishing false objectives in their life to obtain so-called happiness in a world which is all, they knew it was temporary. And they knew that no one in the material world that they knew of was ever actually truly happy without making spiritual advancement in their lives. Therefore, they were not interested in developing programs to control the material nature more, or to enjoy it more than necessary, or to become the savior of the entire, become the savior outside of helping people become Krishna conscious. Of course, everyone had their duty for protection. The Vaishyas protected the cows and other other living entities. The Vaishyas, the Kshatriyas, they made arrangements protecting the women and the children and the old people and the cows and the sick people. Protection was there, but on behalf of Krishna, because they were working under the directions of the Brahmins. So whatever they were doing, including protection, saving or whatever, was also done on behalf of Krishna, not independently as the controller and the enjoyer and the protector. Therefore, they could live in the material world and not become affected by a false sense, believing themselves to be something that they're not, and neglecting to discover who they actually are. They could live in the most model society possible, and at the same time help each other get out of any false conceptions of life and enter into a more loving relationship, a basis of more loving relationship with their family, with their community, with society, based on spiritual values, rather than getting together with each other, trying to become something that they're not, trying to live a false conception of life with each other, rather than live with each other in a reality which is superior to any kind of illusion. Unfortunately, modern education convinces people that reality is illusory and that illusion is reality. Well, Prabhupada said that if you light a match in a dark room, then the darkness can't put the match out. Therefore, it's advised for all of us to have good association with each other. We may not live in a temple. We may not have so much time in our hands to fully engage ourselves in the activities of Krishna consciousness, but at least we should spend as much time possible, especially in the 5 powerful activities, chanting Hare Krishna together with whoever will chant with us, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, either ourselves or whoever will hear with us, and discuss it with ourselves or discuss it with others. Worship deities, if only a picture of the Panchatattva, and acharyas such as Srila Prabhupada, and try to serve devotees to whatever capacity we have, even if it's only our family members who are devoted to the process. Try to help them advance in Krishna consciousness, and try to purify our hearts so that Krishna sits there, and that we purify our own existence, and then arrange our environment in such a way that it makes it easy for us to perform devotional service. Inspiring. Then this valuable form of human life will be utilized properly, and Krishna will help, because he's really much more anxious. If we look at the pictures of Krishna with his devotees, one time I was in New Vrindavan, and one artist came to me and showed me his new picture. It was a picture, actually I'll show the picture. I don't know if I can share, but at least I'll show the picture here, if I can. Do I have permission to share?
Yeah, you can share, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Everyone can see the picture? So who's that with his arms out? Can anyone recognize him? Who's that boy with
Krishna.
Yes, Krishna. And who's next to Krishna? Who's
The
to his
cow.
Does it look like a happy cow?
Very happy.
Yeah. And who's on the other? Who's on the wall there?
The friends of Krishna.
Yeah. And who has her hands out?
Yashoda Mataji.
And who's protecting Mother Jasoda?
Nanda Maharaj.
And who's those girls in the background?
The cover boy.
Those girls in the back are the cowherd boys. Can you see those girls standing on the steps?
Gopis.
Yes.
Yes, gopis.
Oh, good. Perfect score. So does Krishna look like he's kind of like disinterested in Mother Jasoda? Anyhow, I'm back home.
Very.
Yeah. So he's very much in love with, as Mother Jasoda is in love with him, he's very much in love with Mother Jasoda. He's very anxious to be with her. He's not walking, he's actually running towards Mother Jasoda. So the idea is that Krishna is actually very anxious to be with us. The only problem in existence is that we're not very anxious to be with him. So the solution is, somehow or another, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, try to develop some interest in Krishna by seeing how nice it is. I mean, if our children were so much interested in coming home every day to see us, wouldn't that be nice? Or if we were so anxious to see our children come home every day. I mean, how many of our family members look out the window? How many mothers look out the window every day in such anxiety? When was my child coming back? As Mother Jasoda is, so loving to Krishna, and so anxious Krishna is to come back to reciprocate with the love of Mother Jasoda. So the solution to our problems, materially speaking, is to solve them spiritually. At the same time, we do have to maintain ourselves in a way, but material existence will become more meaningful if it helps lead to our spiritual existence. Then we actually have a very clear goal in life, this loving exchange with Krishna and his devotees. And the devotees also, they help each other love Krishna, and therefore they have a valuable relationship with each other. Because the ultimate goal of life, they're all cooperating to develop love for, and Krishna is very happy to reciprocate with them because he has unlimited love for each one of us. Just as he has for Mother Jasoda, or Nanda Maharaj, or Shrimati Radharani and the other gopis, or the cow boys, or the calves. Krishna also has unlimited love for us, more than we can ever hope for. So I'll stop there. I'll stop sharing, but this picture is also of value. So he showed me that picture and asked me what I thought about it. So I've thought a lot about it lately. So it's a very nice picture, which represents what our goal of life is. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Agnihotra.
Хари Кришна, Гуру Махарадж, можно я задам, пожалуйста, тот вопрос, который вчера пробовал задать вам? Не по теме лекции.
How you want to make a question which is not part of the lecture again? Let's see if anyone has a question which is part of the lecture. And then if not, then we'll come back to you, because you asked the same question yesterday. Anyone else have a question? Okay, Agnihotra, what's your question?
Спасибо, Гуру Махарадж. Мой вопрос касается шикши и дикши. Наставник моего знакомого преданного сказал, что если у тебя есть дикша-гуру, но при этом у тебя есть также шикша-гуру, и этот шикша-гуру является также инициирующим гуру, то он может повторять его пранама-мантру вместо дикша-гуру, так как он медитирует на своего шикша-гуру. Но в моем понимании, что если у тебя есть шикша-гуру, ты продолжаешь повторять пранама-мантру своего дикша-гуру, а за шикшей ты следуешь через следование наставлениям, которые ты получаешь от шикша-гуру. Подкорректируйте, пожалуйста, правильно я ли понимаю или нет.
Hare Krishna. So Maharaj, one of my friends have said that one of the Diksha Guru ISKCON explained to him that if you have a Diksha from one of the Guru ISKCON, but you also have a Shiksha Guru who is also initiating Guru in ISKCON, then you can chant the Pranama mantra of your Shiksha Guru instead of your Diksha Guru, because you're inspired by his by whatever he says. So Agnihotra Prabhu said, my understanding always was that if you have a Diksha Guru, he will always be your Diksha Guru. If you have a Shiksha Guru, you follow him by following his instructions, not chanting his pranama mantra. Would you please clarify for me?
Well, Prabhupada said that the process of speaking in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Prabhupada said the process of speaking in spiritual circles is that one should at once quote from authority to back up what one is saying. So your friend who said that, what is his authority from Prabhupada that supports his statement? Did Prabhupada say, my dear disciples, I realize, I'm a Diksha guru, but if you find someone that you're inspired for more than me, then please chant his mantra, his pranam mantra, and forget about mine. Did Prabhupada ever make a statement like that? Agnihotra Prabhu?
Да, я такого в ИСККОН нигде не встречал, и на других примерах, и также Шрила Прабхупада никогда такое не говорил, я не слышал. Или там в книгах Ачарьи я такого не...
I have never seen this in ISKCON. I have never heard Srila Prabhupada say this, and in the books of the Acharyas, I also never heard this.
Therefore, since if we want to be safe, and we want to be connected with the disciple succession, our understanding, those who are following Srila Prabhupada, is that Srila Prabhupada was connected with our disciple succession. Therefore, he was fully conscious of Krishna because he was connected with so many transparent medias to Krishna through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, if we want to do something, we should do it by being authorized by Prabhupada's instructions and example, or by the instructions and example of those who are following Prabhupada's instructions and example, repeating the same instructions and example. And if we want to become imaginative, then find someone who's not following Prabhupada and his example. And if you don't know whether they're following Prabhupada as an example, that's why Prabhupada gave so many lectures, he wrote so many books, gave so many instructions, wrote so many letters. So if someone mentions something like that, then ask them, where did you hear that from? What's your authority that backs up what you're saying? And if they don't know, then why are they speaking? At least not in the circle of ISKCON as an authority. An authority doesn't mean that we just create ourselves as an authority, and whatever we say becomes true. Our truth is what Prabhupada did, what Prabhupada said, what Prabhupada wanted us to do, in order so we can make spiritual advancement, not invent our own process of self-realization. Being in the clutches of illusion, being in the bodily identification, how can we possibly invent something to lead to self-realization? We can't even remember how to chew our food every day. We have so much intelligence. We don't even know how to go to sleep properly. And yet we're claiming that we can invent reality, the process of obtaining reality, when we ourselves are not in reality. It's just like someone writes a book, how to make $1 million in 2 weeks. And he himself is living on the street. He's a homeless person. How can we trust a person who's homeless to tell us how to make $1 million in 2 weeks? How can you trust someone who's in the clutches of material nature to tell us the process of getting out of it? Unless they're repeating someone who's actually out of material existence, who's self-realized. Otherwise, we're being cheated, that's all. Prabhupada used to hear the same things. Devotees would sometimes tell Prabhupada, oh, Prabhupada, you said this. And Prabhupada's answer, whoever said that in my name is a rascal. So nowadays, we don't even have to claim it, Prabhupada said it. We just manufacture our own process, and another fool accepts it. Is that all right? Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For Premanande Haribol.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. His Holiness Prahladananda Swami Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Good.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Mandala Devi Dasi for translating.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kumari.
Mataji Ki Jai.
Jai.
Good.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Mother Kumari. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. See you at the Vyasa Puja.